A 75-year-old patient was brutally beaten and attacked by a 20-year-old man in a nursing home in Detroit. The older gentleman was taken to the hospital and thankfully didn't suffer life-threatening injuries. We're going to play a clip of that video, but I do want to warn you, it is very difficult to watch. But as shown here, the suspect can be seen assaulting the older man. The video lasts for a full minute. It has gone viral and caused outrage on social media, as it should, including from President Trump. He tweets, "Is this even possible to believe? Can this be for real? Where is this nursing home and how is the victim doing?" To discuss this with us, we bring in Newsmax White House correspondent Emerald Robinson. Emerald, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. Yeah, that video is really hard to watch, isn't it?
It definitely is. And I think, as we've talked about nursing homes being part of the epicenter for COVID-19, so many have died. And now this video of people questioning why this 20-year-old man was even there in the hospital. Some say he's maybe a volunteer. But some of the bigger questions, too, is while the governor of governor of Michigan hasn't spoken out about this that much, and it is getting attention on social media, but there hasn't been as much outrage from the nursing home itself and also from the governor. Is that interesting to you at all?
I find it very odd. Now, what I also want to go back to is that I just read not long ago that they've now confirmed that this was a 20-year-old patient who was in there for short-term care. So the question is also, why was he even in there? But it also brings up a bigger question because we're in the middle of this coronavirus crisis. Michigan has been one of those states where they've instituted some of the most stringent lockdown measures. And a lot of people have pointed out, and former home care workers or long-term care workers saying that if visitation was being allowed at this time, that's probably something that would not have happened because somebody would have been there. Somebody would have been checking a little bit more. And it brings up more of what's going on in our nursing homes. Of course, we're very focused on them right now because they've been the hardest hit in the middle of this crisis. And the president speaking out about it will probably have a bigger effect. We still are relatively new to this, what happened here, and a lot of people are just now finding out about it. But I'm surprised that Gretchen Whitmer hasn't had a little more to say because this falls a lot on her.
Yeah, and it is troubling. I mean, the whole thing goes on a minute. It's unbelievably disturbing, and I'm concerned that enough people who are in elected positions aren't speaking out on this. But I know that you actually spoke about nursing homes and what's being done to take care of folks with Secretary Wilkie of the Veterans Administration. What are they doing to take care of our veterans that are in senior centers?
Yeah, sure. I spoke at length with this matter with Secretary Wilkie, and he did note that they instituted some pretty strict measures pretty early on because you have to note they have 7,000 to 8,000 veterans in long-term care, and about half of them are from World War II and the Korean War. And he talked about how being in this kind of isolation without visitation is so hard on them, particularly as we're going into this Memorial Day weekend where we honor those vets who have fallen for our freedoms, and how difficult it is for them, particularly this weekend, to keep those veterans from getting visitation. Now, what they are doing is they're continuing these measures in place that continue to block visitation or restrict visitation to these veterans. And I asked Secretary Wilkie, how long did they foresee keeping these policies in place? And he didn't really have a timeline on that, saying that they had to make sure that the hospitals or that these facilities were clear and safe from coronavirus before they could really ease up on them. But they do hope to do that soon, and not even just for the nursing facilities, but to allow veterans to get that face-to-face care because veterans have other contributing factors that maybe the general population doesn't have to deal with. So that face-to-face personal care, they feel is even more important.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we are shedding light on nursing homes at this time, and look forward to hearing more on that interview you did with Secretary Wilkie. But I also want to show you a recent poll that was taken as we enter into Memorial Day weekend. A lot of surprising stuff. It was conducted by Harris and the University of Phoenix. It shows not everyone is really aware of what we are celebrating this Memorial Day. It said 43% of people surveyed knew Memorial Day was a holiday honoring those who died for our service, but that's only a small number. said 28% confused Memorial Day with Veterans Day, but then the survey broke it into age groups and showed 46% of people ages 18 to 34 identified the correct meaning Memorial Day versus 65% of those 65 and older who were able to identify the correct meaning. So I think it's really interesting when you look at that age gap of the older generation understands that we're really celebrating those who have fallen and who have gone before us and paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms, opposed to Veterans Day, when we're celebrating those who are still serving or who have served, who are still with us. And so some interesting facts. I know you're a veteran. Sean, does that surprise you at all?
A little, and I think, one of the things that has to be done more is we need to talk about this with younger folks. I know, Emerald, the White House tries to do a lot of stuff. What are they doing to commemorate Memorial Day this weekend?
Well, the president and the first lady are headed to Fort McHenry up in Baltimore, and they several of the representatives from the administration are going to different places in order to kind of try to do something to celebrate despite the lockdowns or despite the social distancing measures. And, usually the Boy Scouts are very involved with this. They're still going to try to do something where, the Boy Scouts stand at attention during this time. There's not the wreaths across America, but they are leaving the cemeteries open so people can go and lay flowers at the grave, commemorate those maybe family members who have fallen. And I know you said you're sort of surprised. I'm not that surprised by it, John, because I grew up in that generation where at first we were saying the Pledge of Allegiance in school. We were more focused on patriotism and what it meant to be an American. And I saw that wane through my generation. And I assume, Lindsay, and you and I are basically probably close to the same age. I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but now in looking at some of my, younger cousins who are in school, it just doesn't seem to be as much of a focus as it used to be.
Yeah, I echo that with you as well.
It's a problem, and I think that we need to start making sure, your point, we don't say it as much anymore when it comes to teaching kids the Bill of Rights, all of the things that we grew up singing and saying. It's become almost something that people are embarrassed, and that's wrong, because as soon as we forget our history, we're A, bound to repeat it, and B, we don't recognize what people have done to sacrifice for it. Emerald, in the press briefing today, though, I want to just say one thing. The president came out and said that he's asking all churches throughout the whole country to open up. Were you shocked by this? Because I think doing it so late on a Friday ahead of, you've got Jewish services that will occur tomorrow on Saturday, Christian services on Sunday. Was this a shock to hear?
I wouldn't say it was shocked. I was shocked when they announced the press briefing and we didn't know what was going on. But, he's been getting a lot of pressure behind the scenes. And I talk particularly to a lot of faith leaders who are close to the president, who advise the president. And this is something that they've been trying to get the administration to do. Clearly, they felt like they had to get the CDC to sign off on it for a bit. But recall, he'd also tasked the Department of Justice to look at this and how it infringed possibly on constitutional freedom of speech, constitutional freedom of religion. And Attorney General William Barr had been pretty outspoken about it. So we knew something was coming down the pipeline. The president had been pretty vocal that he wanted to get churches open. And also, you can't ignore, Sean, as you well know, that is a big base for him, the evangelicals, the Christian community. And they were calling for him to do it.
I get it. And that's the thing. I get why he did it, A, because it's, I think, the right thing to do, and B, because he understands the constituency. I was a little shocked to see it so late on a Friday, so close to services for so many, for so many faiths that need to now quickly adapt. I also think it's going to be interesting to see how many governors allow it to happen in their state, because while he urged them to do it, I don't know that they have enough time to actually pull it off. So, we'll see come Monday how much it happened. But I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sean. It's always great to see you too.
All right. Well, coming up, a Republican senator is introducing a new bill to Congress that will seek to restrict the military from helping Hollywood if they continue to modify American movies so they can be shown in China. And later, we're talking to conservative media personalities, Diamond and Silk, on what Joe Biden recently said about black voters. Stick around.